Hi guys, I'm Tracy. If you've been here before, thank you for joining me again. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you like and subscribe if this is a type of video that you're interested in. So this is just like a follow-up to a follow-up, along with one new brush that I have that I've been playing with for a couple of weeks that I want to share with you guys. Not new to the market, just new to me. So let's just get started. I am going to talk about, I guess, 3 types of brushes. And the first set, I am going to talk about my concealer brushes. So one of my subscribers, Denise Marie, hi Denise, asked about the Takumi T6. And I did this in my last, I guess, follow-up. And this is like another follow-up because she pointed out that this, or she asked if it had a slant on one side, and I took a close look and it does. So I'll try to show it if I can. I know I need to put something darker. See if this will work. I don't know if you guys can really tell, but there's a slight slant on one side. You can kind of see it's very, it's just very, it's almost imperceptible until you look really closely, but it is, and it does, I think, add to the functionality of this brush, because when you go, to pat your under eyes with concealer, or I guess powder, I don't use this for powder, it really kind of gives you a better surface to get the concealer on, like that. If you do patting motions like me, it's very efficient in putting concealer on your under eyes and other areas. And I will show you guys. I'll try doing it here. I have my makeup on. I just want to show you guys really how quickly this brush works. So I just really pat like that where the concealer is and where I want it to set in, and it really beautifully lays down the concealer. This is actually an eyeshadow brush, but I've never used it for that, but I'm sure it will be really great with powders. I just happen to think it's really great for liquid and cream concealer. So I'm also going to compare this to another brush that I use interchangeably, and that's the Goss 16. I just washed it, so it doesn't look very great, but I use it for exactly the same purpose, and that is to put concealer under my eyes and in other areas. It is a lot smaller, and it's got like a candle shape, candle flame shape, and it doesn't usually flare out like that. It's just because I washed it. But I would say if for whatever reason you're not ready to spend the money on this, I think this works almost as great, just not quite as good. So I wanted to put that out there. And then another brush this is actually new to me, and that is the Sonia G Detail Pro. So this, I'll give you some specs on it. It's $32. It's made of dyed and undyed chikuhodo goat hair, and it's 22 millimeters, the bristles are. And she suggests it could be used for setting powder, highlight, contour, if you want to like contour with your bronzer. And so I've tried it for all of those things, and what I find for me it works best is putting on highlighter and really getting a very strong application. Now, many times I've said I don't like a strong highlighter, but I think I've changed my mind, because the way this does it, I don't know if it's the highlighter or it's the brush or it's both. It really looks amazing. So let me show it to you guys. And this is also a new product. It's the e.l.f. Bite Size Cheek Duo. and this is $3, and I really, really like it. This highlighter I've been using every day. So I'll go back to the other uses that I don't recommend it for. So it does really well. It does, you know, does powder the under eyes very well, but it does leave a very heavy application. So I did use it for that, and I was going to tell you guys that it works good for that, but because of the bristles and because it's such a firmly packed brush, it does heavily deposit powder products. So if that's what you're going for, this will be great, but for me, I prefer a very, very light application of powder under my eyes, or it looks dry and cracky, and it just, this works so much better. And this is a squirrel hair brush from Wayne Goss, but any kind of, you know, squirrel hair brush I think would do better for the under eyes if you're trying to be very light with the application. But let me show you how it does the highlighter. So you really don't need a lot. And it just works so efficiently. I mean, that's really all you have to do, and you have this beautiful, it is technically kind of a stripe of highlighter, but I'm really liking it. So I guess I like strong highlighters now, but I just want to show you guys the application and how fast it was and how it does lay down highlighter on your face. Oh, and I've also used it for here. I'll show you guys. Because it's so small, it really fits perfectly like right here. And I don't really put highlighter on my nose, but if I'm feeling fancy, I'll put like a little right there. So it is a good size for that. And I have tried it for contour. I didn't like it for that. It's just too small for my face, but I could see if you have very small features and you want very precise applications of bronzer or contour, this would be good. It does provide a pretty strong application like it does for, you know, powders and everything. And so we got those out of the way. And then this is a follow-up to the hakuhodo G5538. And I did this in my last hakuhodo haul, and I said I was going to follow up because I wanted to compare it to the Sonia G soft cheek brush. So what I have found, so this soft cheek brush is my favorite blush brush. It's my favorite Sonia G brush. So it was out of stock for a long time. So I wanted to find something that would be sort of a dupe, or at least will give this a similar application. And I do find that this does provide the identical application of blush. Now it's not a dupe because it does take longer, because this is a lot more sparse, it's more flexible. This one it's so unique because it has long bristles, but it does have a lot of give, so it's not like floppy like some of these other, I know MAC makes one like this, and so does Wayne Goss. So because it's so floppy, it applies blush very lightly, or contour, or whatever it is you're doing. So I'll show you guys this and the soft cheek. So I'm going to use this new Shiseido. I'm going to do another video on this, but it's the Inner Glow Cheek Powder Blush Inner Glow. So it's technically a blush, but it's also kind of like a highlighter. So they're not very pigmented, but so I put like a pretty decent amount. And it makes it so that you never really overdo it. So even if you wanted to use it on a more pigmented blush, it would work really well. The thing that it wouldn't work well with is kind of like a harder powder formula like the NARS. I don't think this has enough, doesn't have enough you know, firmness to really pick up those powders. But the softer powders and things like that, it works really great. So that's this one, and I'll compare it to this one. I'll use the same blush. And this is how I use it. I don't let it splay much. I just like lightly brush my cheeks with it. So I know it's very subtle, but to me it's identical. It gives a very dispersed application of blush. And she did restock this. It's not in stock anymore. And yes, I did buy one. I don't know why, but I really like this. And the whole reason I got this is I was afraid something was going to happen to this and I wasn't going to have a good blush brush, because this is the only way I apply blush now. So I use these interchangeably, but if you can't get this because it's out of stock, I would say this is a great alternative, and it's much cheaper. This is $30 and the soft cheek is now $48. I believe it was $46, but she explains on her blog on how it's been a lot harder to get these types of bristles, and she had to go with another manufacturer because none of the other manufacturers had this type of hair. And on her site it says that it is chikuhodo goat hair, but I'm pretty sure it's dyed. It has to be dyed because it doesn't feel like the other goat hairs, but I could be wrong. It says chikuhodo goat hair. But I wanted to put that out there in case you guys wanted a brush like this. And then another thing, let me make sure I covered everything. I wanted to follow up with this, and nothing really different has changed. This is what I use for foundation every day, and it is amazing. I've never used a brush or a sponge or anything that gave this type of smooth application. Your foundation just looks so seamless, almost like you're not wearing foundation. So any kind of cream or liquid foundation, this would work very beautifully. And I guess if you do wear powder foundation, I can see this working well. I just don't use powder foundation, so I can't speak to that. And then the last one that I wanted to do an additional follow-up is the chikuhodo BP13. So initially I got this to do bronzer, and it does work great for bronzer, but I'll show you how it works for bronzer. One downside is it's so big, and if you guys have the Tom Ford bronzer brush, you understand that it doesn't fit into like these little hourglass pans. Like, it's really hard to get in there without picking up the other products. But you know, hopefully you have a bigger pan like this, and it does really do bronzer well. I would say a pretty strong application, but natural at the same time. I guess my kids came home. But what I've been using it for, Connor, just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes, thank you. So, okay, I think I showed you guys with the powder bronzer application, and it is a very beautiful brush for bronzer. I would say the best brush that I have that gives like a very large application of bronzer, but I think it works really great for setting powder. So I've been using the Huda Beauty baking powder, and it doesn't apply too much. So I mean, I don't put a lot of powder on. I try not to. I don't know if you'll be able to really see this, but I'll put some here. It's just that it's so big, it just quickly will set your foundation. And because I'm using that new Shiseido the self-refreshing foundation, I have to set it, and So I've been needing a big setting brush, so that's what I've been using it for. But either powder or bronzer, I think, is still the best use for that Koyudo brush. And let me just make sure. Oh, really quickly, I finally got some brush guards, so when I wash them, they stay intact. They're very inexpensive, and they gave me like 200. I'll never get through them, but I just wanted to let you guys know it really does keep your brushes in nice shape. So that's really all I have for today. I have some other videos filmed about some products, but I haven't edited them yet. And my kids are home, so I'll have to see you all next time.
Mom, look what
All right.
happened.
Bye.
Mom, look what happened.